Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. It's time to deadlift. All right, welcome back. As many of you have requested, it's time to talk about the infamous deadlift. Now this is something that has a lot of controversy with people with scoliosis because obviously this incorporates a lot of back and a lot of strain and tension on your back. So it ranges from can I do it to should I do it? Unfortunately, again, disclaimer as always, I don't know all your conditions and I also am not a doctor, so you have to be aware of what you are capable of doing. That aside, I'm here to tell you mostly about how to deadlift properly so that if your condition is not too severe to do it, you can participate in it properly, see results, and not make yourself worse off in the long run. First off, most important, as I've talked about many times, is wear a belt. I don't care if it's just the ball, wear your belt. Second off, these straps, don't be afraid of these. This is not as necessary, especially for those of you who aren't going to be going super heavy, but if you just lack the grip strength, but you have the glutes, the hamstrings, and the lower back strength to do it, don't be afraid of these. These are not as important as the belt, but these have a bad rep, I think. So, all right, where to start? What is the deadlift? The deadlift is one of the core exercises, foundation. Why? Because it's one that uses the most amount of muscles. You're basically picking something up. It's pretty self-explanatory. As simple as it may sound, it's actually very complicated because you can do this very, very, very wrong. Now, here's where people get scared, is when you're picking this up, like so. Obviously, when I was in the motion of picking it up, all this weight is being supported by none other than my spine. So what I want to talk about today is how to properly do it to keep yourself neutral so that you're actually putting more effort on what you're trying to work. We obviously want to strengthen our back through deadlifts, but there's a lot of other ways to do that. To me, the most important thing for deadlifts is to build some glutes and hamstrings and really develop your legs and get your foundation built up. So there are ways to kind of push the tension down and take it off the spine, so then that kind of eliminates what you're afraid of in the first place. There's different variations of the deadlifts, and I'm going to get into that as well. So the standard deadlift, when you have your legs straight out in front of you, about shoulder width, and you go standard into the pickup, the problem with this is the farthest range of motion. So something I found out that actually moves the tension down more into your glutes and more to where you want it is if you just spread out. Now this is called a sumo deadlift. And some people get super, super wide, which I don't really recommend. Just step out a good like 4, 5, 6 inches from where your standard width is. But this puts your hands in the middle. So instantly I'm already higher up. So I'm not bending over as farther, so that's less tension. My hips are already lower down, my spine is more already vertical, so that's just less tension on it in general. So through this, I'm able to work more with my abductors, and my range of motion is probably a good 4 inches less than, and that's a lot less tension on your spine. Okay, so in my last video, talking about squatting, I kind of talked about tips because there's a lot more to that. With this, there's not really tips to it because it's just such a simple motion, but I really wanted to just make sure I emphasize to people that if you do it properly, there's nothing to be afraid of. Now, this is somebody who has symmetrical scoliosis like I do. Now, mine does an S, as I've mentioned, so I don't lean or curve or do anything abnormal. I just have to I have to compensate for extra tension because it's not straight. Now, that's an advantage for me because I can do this exercise. I just need to make sure that I'm being very strict with my form. So the most important thing I talked about so far is switching up your leg position and bringing yourself a little lower to the ground. This helps you not have to bend over as far and help you sit your hips down lower more comfortably, find better balance. So therefore, boom, we are working those glutes and we are not putting nearly as much tension on our backs. Now something else I wanted to mention, because I know that there's some forms of scoliosis that cause imbalances in the shoulders. So I know for a fact that people have commented and mentioned that they have issues where their arms are not even or they have a slight twist. Well then let's just forget the bar and let us incorporate some dumbbells. So now that we have dumbbells, guess what that means? Your arms are not connected anymore, so they can do whatever they need to do. People forget that deadlifting does not have to be the bar. Yeah, that's the standard way to do it, but you can do it with anything you want. You can do it with resistance bands. I know y'all are tired of me talking about resistance bands. All right, so hypothetically, my shoulders are uneven. Oh wow, would you look at that? It doesn't matter. I'm still doing a deadlift. Now, the key to this is to make sure you keep the same principles in mind. So, since you can go down as far as you want because you're not actually touching the ground with it, you can do a more standard stance. That's all there is to it. This is the deadlift. These are not connected, same results, same effort. So I want you all to keep in mind that the important thing here is that there are variations to the deadlift to compensate for whatever your condition or how severe your condition may be. Now, lastly, the most important thing I want to talk about is something I have preached before in the past, is stretching. When you have any kind of condition where your body has to compensate for something, guess what it's going to do? It's going to overwork other muscles, and it's going to make them very tight. So, the biggest factor in this is going to be your hamstrings. If you cannot make sure that you have an adequate amount of flexibility and that they're warmed up and stretched prior to this exercise, your back is going to what? Take all the effort and overcompensate. That is not what we want. We want it to be about our legs. Our back has to be involved. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not going to run through any kind of stretches here because it's unimportant. I already told you, y'all can look up on the internet how to stretch your hamstrings. It's pretty straightforward. I just want to make sure that you guys are making improvements on them and warming them up prior to these deadlifts. Now, also something very important is making sure that you have good stretches on your lumbar as well, because there is no way around it. That is going to be a part of your body that is going to work with this because you are bent over picking something up. What we're trying to make sure we focus on is putting the energy down. And then that way, you're going to use your back so much less than you think you are. So, the whole premise of this channel is to just preach to you guys that even though I share the same issue with you all, I'm able to do this because I'm trying to do it right. I'm trying to put all the effort and all the energy into my glutes, into my hips, into my legs, because that's what I want to develop. My back, I can do so many other things with my back. It's not a big deal. In conclusion, do not be afraid. Do not do more than you can do. If you are just unable to deadlift, do not do it. If you cannot deadlift because you are asymmetrical and you cannot hold the hands on the bar evenly, grab some 5-pound, 10-pound plates, grab some dumbbells, go get the resistance band and strap it under a dumbbell on the floor, a heavy dumbbell. Do something that your arms are not connected. And I promise you, you will be able to get the same results as the bar, but you won't be restricted by what you can or cannot do. Deadlifting is very important. I want everybody who's interested in fitness and interested in development to be able to do all the main exercises. You know, squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, all the ones that are the foundation because they're very important. And they're really not something to be afraid of if you do it right. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm actually going to deadlift for real now. I need to do it. If you happen to stumble across this video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all next video.